as MSP owners or people that work with owners to grow their business, it's one thing to come up with metrics and tools and all that type of stuff, but it's really about capturing the why and what are the stories of the people that are involved in the process, and how do you capture that story so that everyone in the organization understands what's going on and how they contribute.
So we're on for another episode on the Top Left podcast. Welcome back, Steve.
Yeah.
And we don't have a topic yet. What are we going to talk about?
Well, I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier was this idea of like it's kind of more a marketing thing, but maybe not, but the idea of story. And it was kind of a one sentence thing. Like, what if we talk about story? And so the thing that came to my mind, tell me if this was what you were thinking, is that as MSP owners or people that work with owners to grow their business, it's one thing to come up with metrics and tools and all that type of stuff, but it's really about capturing the why and what are the stories of the people that are involved in the process, and how do you capture that story so that everyone in the organization understands what's going on and how they contribute. So that's what came to my mind. Was that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I think everything we should do should be stories, whether it's customer support or sales. We bond and connect over stories. That's how we network and connect. So that's for any topic we do, but we can talk about that specifically today and extrapolate from there.
Let me ask this question of you. When you think of your story, and I'm not talking about your personal story, although it could be that, but the story of Kerkhoff Technologies in a nutshell, like how would you articulate that?
Just the inception and how we launched and how I got into it. That was a bit of timing and necessity, things coming together, but just where I was at in life with meeting a lady, meeting a girlfriend, became my fiancé, and getting engaged to get married, and not wanting to commute to Vancouver anymore, doing the hour and a half commute and getting stuck in traffic, and buying a house, wanting to just stay local, stay home. And the timing was right. Finished my degree and put up my shingle. Obviously, I'm a family of entrepreneurs and business builders and such. So it's in the genes, it's in the blood. Those are the stories I grew up with, not in technology, but in business overall. And so the timing was right. Rudy was there to help with the bookkeeping and jumped into it. Didn't really overthink it, just found work and got busy pretty quick within a month. But it was a desire to create an environment, a culture where there's reduce the red tape and reduce the drama, good integrity and values and harmony and all that, good roles, and then do tech work. Is always a very broad thing. That's why I called it Kerkhoff Technologies, because I loved the variety of things. That was my previous experience in my career and wanted to just have that always expand and keep growing. I didn't want to be in a box. So that's something I struggled with for a long time. And then we embraced it. And all right, let's put it into different companies or different brands and productize it. There can be a method to that madness. Obviously, I hate to say no to opportunity and to things that are evolving, things that our clients need. So let's go figure it out. That's a bit of how we started in the vision, but it's not that complicated. Write down a single thing, right?
Yeah.
Other than here's what I got paid before, and here's what the billable hourly rate would be and how many hours I could do. I'm like, all right, makes sense.
Yeah.
I can pay the rent and the groceries and support my wife and myself. And that was it. Jump into it. Yeah, no coaching, nothing, no support really that way.
Yeah.
No training, no education on it.
Yeah. And part of your story is different than I would say the majority of MSP owners that are out there. And this is a generalization, but you've got 3 companies. So you mentioned family of entrepreneurs, growth mindset. So how would you say with those 3 companies now, has your story changed at all? Or are you wanting to start more? Are you satisfied with where you're at? I know the answer to that, but it'd be fun to hear your answer.
Obviously, would love to start other things, but I'm really focusing on getting these because I see the potential in growing them with the systems, the process, the marketing, and the sales. Is getting those engines growing and the people in place to keep growing it, and then I can get into other things. But right now, I'm pouring into these.
Sure. Why would you say it's important for MSP owners that are out there, and even the ones that are using Top Left that we're getting more and more involved with, why would you say it's important for them to consider what the story is of not only themselves, but their company? Why is that so important?
I think everyone has their story. Like, who are they? Who are you as a person? Who are you at your core? What are your biggest fears, your biggest aspirations? And that obviously defines who we are. So getting really clear on that and peeling those layers away. And obviously being in our, what we always call the HABU, highest and best use, with your God-given talents and experiences and everything. What brings you joy? What gets your creative juices going? Those things. Well, what is that sweet spot? So I think that we got to dig back into those stories of how did we get into business? Why did we go into that education? What job did we like? And what happened in our youth? What happened when we were children, or even as when we were babies or preborn? That all impacts who we are today. That's still today. It's a journey into myself, journey into the past, so that I can move forward. Sometimes it means letting go of baggage or negative anchoring and stuff that's been heaped on us by others, or things that were said jokingly and we took on as truth, and it's not who we are. It's a load of crap. So it's identifying that and releasing it, letting go of those disappointments and wounds and hurts, and moving forward, not holding back. So choosing who we want to be in the next 5 years and start being that, working on that, creating that persona, which is not a false. It's just who we are. It's who we're meant to be, but creating that identity and stepping into it.
How would you help a colleague, whether it's someone on the team right now or a different MSP owner? How would you convince them of the value of that? Because it sounds like it's more like a fireside conversation or conversation over lunch. But I'm convinced that I know you are, Wim, of the value of that for the business, and actually investing in those types of conversations and programs. How would you convince someone of the value of that?
God, there's so much. I'm like, there's no downside on that for our own health, our mental health, our physical health, our relationships, that we're enjoying our work and we have good energy and we come home with energized and transition back to our families. That's key, and vice versa. Helping our employees be in a better spot, and the better spot they are, and the less drama and stuff we might have in the workplace, or burnout, or people are just in ruts or just chugging along. That's not good. If they're in a good spot, that we feed off of that. So it pays off with more creative, more collaboration, people work together. So it has a direct impact on revenue, on profit, on retention. And like some of the numbers we talk about is like burnout in this tech industry is like 57% of people get some sort of burnout experience in the last year. The retention is high, right? So the attrition is high. Like, what is it, 22% per year?
Yeah.
If we were losing 20% of our clients in a year, then in just 4 years, we got nothing left. And that's also with our employees, and we've got to replace them. And that's costly. So if we can impact those things, like, that's an instant payoff. Mm-hmm. That's investing into people. It starts with ourselves. There's the old expression of the fish sinks from the neck down. So we're going to start at the top of the organization. And the more we take care of ourselves, own who we are, the more we can work with our leaders, and it cascades from there. Mm-hmm. It's not just shoving them a book, but leading by example, showing and then sharing a story. Hey, this is what I've done. And if people are interested, then they can learn more. But just sharing from experience, sharing those stories. That's why I talk about the burnout and why we got into these things, why we started Top Left. That was a conversation on a webinar today, is almost going bankrupt. Like, literally, I'm like, if I lose my house, where are we going to move? What's some low-income housing to keep going? That's a conversation I had. And that's why we got into Top Left and the people. And since doing that, we've quadrupled our revenue, going from negative to minimal debt and growing, and from having to let people go to now 35 plus people. And that's all investing into my mindset and health and everything. So it's paying for itself.
I heard what you said earlier about, it's not about just like reading a book, but certainly that's a good place to start for maybe someone who hasn't considered that kind of a mindset. Is there a book that you've read that you could recommend as starting points for someone other than working with us? I know that we've expressed an interest in helping other MSPs to explore this idea of mindset and emotional intelligence and avoiding burnout and mental health and all that type of stuff. And we can certainly do that. But for someone who's just starting on this journey, what are the one or two resources, like books, that you could recommend that would be helpful for people to read? Can you come up with anything off the top of your head?
There are so many, and they don't have everything you need. So there's the one I'm reading now, is Alter Ego, and I was talking about creating this other persona who's just like the real you that you want to shine, and how do you step into that? So if you freeze up when you go on stage to speak to an audience, well, who do you need to be? Who's your deeper self who conquers that enemy of the fear and step into that? That's one that's just coming to mind. So I'm reading it right now. There's a book called like Energy, Power of Energy, something like that, which is a story of a guy who goes from like burnout, overweight, not moving, grumpy with his kids and his wife, irritable with his employees, everything. That's where I was even a couple of years ago and in the past. And the book talks about, you work as a coach, of course, and how he turns that around. He's not perfect by the end of the book, but makes huge progress, taking care of himself, food, nutrition, fresh air, walking, sleep, reducing screen time, all those things. I could go pop out my office door here and grab it. There's Power of Focus is another book. I don't know. There's just a lot of books I've gone through. What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, certainly those two. I put you on the spot, Wim, and you responded really well. And now I'm having trouble thinking on my toes. I'm going to go to my shelf as well.
There's a classic emotional intelligence book, which gets into that. But here's the book, The Power of Full Engagement.
Oh, yeah.
By Luer and Schwartz. Managing energy, not time, is the key to high performance and personal renewal.
Nice.
It's not about your calendar and stuff. It's really about the energy behind everything.
Yeah.
And then there's Power of Focus, different ones.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to run and get one from my shelf. This is one that you sent out as a recommendation to a lot of us. It's Henry Cloud's Integrity. And that word integrity has taken on new meaning for me over the years, because I used to think about integrity more from the spiritual sense of doing what you say and honesty and all that. And certainly is related, but Henry Cloud talks more about integrity, be like, can you hold yourself together? And can all the different parts of your life be in congruence so that the core, it's all held together by a really solid, stable core? And so how 6 essential qualities determine your success in business. And it's not a business book. It certainly talks about business in that context, but it really is more kind of what are some of the things like honesty and those types of things that we can pay attention to as business leaders that really help us to hold it together that way. So
yeah, that's a really good one. Anything from Henry Cloud is great.
Yeah.
Only discovered him a few months ago. I don't know why that is. Oh, I could go on forever about books. This is another one from Hallowell, which is talks about crazy busy.
Okay.
So overstretched, overbooked, and about to snap. Strategies for handling your fast-paced life.
Nice.
So that's something I first read quite a number of years ago. It's getting yellow now. But getting away from ADD, I kind of, self-treating myself through these things. Like everyone is ADD. So how do you get out of that? I was about to jump on meds for ADD like 4 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I made a lot of progress. So I no longer wear that label of ADD, ADHD.
Yeah,
okay.
Amazing.
So we started with story and we got into origins and starting businesses and mental health, these things. What's a good topic on this? We did come up with a topic. We jumped into this on purpose to see where it went.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it is the idea of the personal story. And what came to mind is a quote from you that you threw in Slack the other day. And I'm trying to remember the channel. Here's the quote by Neil Gaiman, I think is the pronunciation. I've never known anyone who was what he or she seemed, or at least was only what he or she seemed. People carry worlds within them. Mm-hmm. And that's stuck with me simply because of the idea that when we show up to work in whatever role we play, it's just one facet of our entire lives. And if every one of us, including senior leaders, owners, employees, clients, customers, if that's true, we carry worlds within us, then there's so much more to us than just what we see and what we experience on a given day. And so the idea of growing a business with that perspective in mind asks us to go deeper than just the daily interactions and to begin to pay attention to the larger story of someone. That to me has power. And so I appreciate your vision, Wim, to help other MSPs unlock that as a key or as a tool to be able to grow a business. Because it's not just about talking about someone's story just for the sake of having a coffee and sharing conversation, but there's fruit that can be born out of that. And the fruit of that is success and growth, not just personally, but in the business.
Yeah, so unlocking worlds within and appreciating that. Using our imagination. Everyone's got a powerful imagination of what could be. So doing that, inspiring them to do that. Everyone's got unlimited potential. And some people don't believe it, but I've just seen that a couple of cases recently. Like I'm doing the 75 hard challenge, 75-day challenge, and spoke with a new friend. He didn't think he could do it. And so I'm like, oh, you can totally do it. So now he did day 1 and now he's on to day 2 and he's like, oh, I feel so much better. And it's just the belief was there. But he's one day at a time, jump into it.
That's so good.
Pouring into people because they may not see it or believe it yet, but it's there. So just helping them through it.
Right on.
Good. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up and we'll do this again.
All right. Sounds good. Awesome, Wim.
All right.
Cheers.